Hey there, I'm Naja Hall, founder of VIP Stepmom. For this month's expert workshop, I decided to do things a little differently. I reached out to Bree Gordon. Bree is a music therapist and she is awesome. I was recently on her podcast and we started talking about what she does and what I do and how we could both juxtapose our jobs to help women that are in relationships with partners that have children, aka our fellow stepmoms. Bree has put together an awesome presentation. She's going to teach us the power of music because we all got that song that makes us a little nostalgic, right? We all have that song that calms us down or pumps us up in the gym or gets us through 5 o'clock traffic. Today, Bree is teaching us about the importance of music and using it in your role as a stepmom. Who could have thunk it? Who would have thought that music could make your life a little bit easier? Well, I'm going to let Bree have it and take it away. Oh wait, is it this way? Take it away, Bree.
VIP Stepmoms, that's you and me.
Hey everyone, my name is Bree Gordon and I am a board certified music therapist. I am also the host of the podcast, The Mindful Mentor. I recently had the amazing honor of getting to talk with Miss Naja Hall and interview her for my podcast. And if you haven't checked that out yet, please do, because as you already know, the knowledge that just exudes from this woman is, you can't catch it fast enough. So if you're like me, probably end up listening to it a few times to get all of that wisdom in. I've been a follower of Naja's for years, and it's really, really helped me along my journey as a step parent. And so it was wonderful to connect with her and also to be asked to share some of my specialty with her audience. So I really appreciate this opportunity. And today I just want to talk a little bit about using music as a coping strategy from the perspective of a step parent, because this is something that I do in my professional work and I also do a lot of in my personal life, as you can imagine. So my background, first and foremost, is as a musician. I studied classical voice. I was trained for both opera and jazz. I did musical theater and picked up the guitar while I was in college. And I use voice and guitar primarily in my work. I work mostly with seniors with neurodegenerative disorders, so seniors who have memory disorders like Alzheimer's, dementia, and movement disorders like Parkinson's and ALS and stroke survivors. I also work with a lot of trauma survivors. So with my older populations, I may see some veterans that saw active wartime during World War II or the Korean War, the Vietnam War. And I also work with Holocaust survivors. And more recently, I have been working with students who are survivors of gun violence in their schools. That might look like a mass shooting, like I work with the students in Parkland, or it might look like everyday gun violence in some of our lower income communities. So I use music and I work with other creative arts therapists like art therapists and drama therapists to create programming for these individuals to help give them a voice, help them reclaim their story, to share their feelings in a safe way. So some of that we will see a crossover in some of the work that I talk about today. You may not feel like you are at the point where you want to seek out a creative arts therapist to process some of the things you're going through. So these are just some coping skills that you can have accessible to you at home. You do not need to be a musician to continue forward with this video. I really, really want to make that clear. Trust me, you do not have to have any musical training or any kind of musical acuity to be able to use music therapeutically in your own life. Probably you already know that. Probably you already use music to motivate you or pump you up, whether it's to work out or clean the house or get through the day. Some of you might use music to help you unwind and relax at the end of the day. Others may use music on their commute when we were commuting more to work, I know that was a big one for me to help me get through those traffic jams. So however it is that you currently have a relationship with music in your life, we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And I want you to dive deeper into that and why certain artists resonate with you, why certain styles of music speak to you. There's a reason for that. It's not random. So we're going to start out kind of light and simple, and then we're going to end with a little mini songwriting workshop. You do not have to have musical talent to write a song, I promise you. So a couple things that come to mind when I think about using music as a coping strategy. A lot of times when I'm working in mental behavioral settings, we end each session by creating a group playlist together. And we will choose a theme, usually something that has emerged from the first half of the group. So we might start with a music guided meditation or a music game or something that kind of gets icebreaker, gets people talking, gets them their self-awareness heightened, maybe drawing on group cohesion and what kind of unites us as a group. And then we'll look at what themes emerged. That might be strength, peace, security, frustration, anything. It doesn't have to be a positive theme. And then we'll create a playlist around that theme. So in my groups, we're taking one or two songs from each person and putting it onto the playlist. Then we'll listen to it together and kind of discover everyone's different styles and things like that. You can absolutely do that with a group of friends or a group that you trust, maybe even a group within VIP Stepmom. That would be an awesome idea. But you can do that for yourself too. Everybody knows how to make a playlist. I know I completely grew up on burning CDs, and that was like my go-to gift for my best friend at the time or my boyfriend at the time. Here's a playlist. It has my feelings on it, but I'm not going to tell you that. I'm just going to tell it a playlist. But really, I was trying to communicate something to that person, right? Through the songs I put on there. If it seemed random and they were just feel-good songs, I was probably trying to communicate, I want to help you right now. I want to bring joy into your life, and I don't really know how to do that other than through music. So how can we help communicate some of our feelings, even if it's just to ourselves? And we could do that through music. We can select a theme and then go through and thoughtfully choose music that reflects that theme. So I have all sorts of themed playlists on Spotify. Some are created by my clients, some are created by my staff, some are created by me, and they might be themed to a holiday, a feeling, a movement, a social cause, around a goodbye, around a new relationship, a new beginning. They could be anything, any theme that resonated with that group or with myself at the time. And then I can go back when I need that reminder and listen to that playlist and get in touch with some of those feelings that I was feeling at the time. It's really just kind of a neat way. And then if you want to bring people in, maybe bring your partner in, like, hey, I made this playlist. It's about my need for some alone time with you. These are all songs that focus on you and me, not necessarily the family unit. Maybe that's another playlist that you could play and share with your stepchildren. So there's different ways to use this. Another thing we can do is share music with our stepchild. This was one thing that kind of came unexpectedly to me because neither of my stepchildren are musically inclined or really even that interested. My stepdaughter was in hip-hop dance for a while. So that was really cool to connect with the arts in that way. But she kind of aged out of that. And when my stepson, who is just breathes, lives, eats, sleeps soccer, which has been a big change for him the last couple months for sure. He broke his foot a couple years ago, and suddenly soccer was not taken up all the time. So what we had time for here was listening to music and getting into soundtracks. And we got into The Greatest Showman soundtrack, which was a movie out at the time. And he just took to it right away, which I did not see coming at all. Like, I never thought I was going to get this jock kid to listen to a musical soundtrack with me. But we had so much fun having a little dance party in the kitchen, unloading the dishwashers. His foot was safe to do that before you think I'm horrible for making a broken foot have dance parties. that was something we could do safely. And we just had such a great time. And now every time I listen to those songs, I'll send him a song, or I'll say, oh, do you remember when we used to do that? And it's a connection that we will always have. And I don't know if that would have happened if we didn't look for that connection. We didn't seek that out. So you can engage the kids in music, engage your partner in music, making live music that date night that you have a week, to go out, if you're able to get date nights. And when we have regular date nights again, making music be the focal point of that, and making it be mindful too. Like, hey, my husband and I are from different generations. My husband is 18 years older than me. So one way we connect is by learning each other's music, me specifically learning his music from the 80s and sharing in that. And then he feels nostalgic. So he's connected emotionally to that tie. I love that we're bonding through a shared experience, and he's teaching me something new. He loves that he's teaching me something new. There's so many levels going on when you're sharing music with someone that you love. One thing that music has really, really helped me with is gives me an escape. I'm sure I'm not the only person in this group who has thought, I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now. There's a lot going on. There's almost zero that I have control over. What can I control? To me, the antithesis of being out of control and overwhelmed is to create something. And so I will create music. And that might look like picking up an instrument I've never played before and trying to learn it. Just trying to learn a few notes, not trying to master it. I probably don't have time for that. But just to plunk around with it, to try something new, learn something new, and be a part of something that I can create, something positive that I can create. Maybe later I want to show it off to my family and say, hey, look at this cool thing. I can play mandolin now. I can play 2 chords of mandolin, but that's okay. Something that you can kind of re-engage with them. Or maybe it's just for you. That's good too. That's great, actually. That's awesome. That's something special that you've done for yourself. That is self-care. So maybe that's piano, guitar, voice. If it's something you can do on your own, great. If it's something you want to seek out and take lessons for, even better. Then you have that accountability for a half hour, an hour every week. You take that time for you to learn a new skill. You're going to grow in your self-love, your self-worth, your self-esteem, which is just going to trickle down and be beautiful and blossoming for your whole family. It is a win-win, win-win-win, depending on how many stepchildren you have. Everybody wins. It's really, really cool. If you have stepchildren or a partner that are engaged in music and you're not, that's another opportunity to say, hey, could you teach me that? I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be a performer, and that's okay. But could you teach me that? I'd love to see how you do that. It's really impressive to me when I see you play the whatever that is. I love that. It makes me feel proud to watch you. Could you teach me? Try it. I guarantee there's something special is going to come out of that bond. Okay, now to the meat and potatoes. If you want to take this a step further, especially if you're someone who loves to write, maybe that's journaling, maybe that's even to-do lists, maybe that's even texting yourself little ideas that you have throughout the day. I know for me, my introduction to this whole community of stepmom support was through blogging. So I would blog a lot on stepmomming.com, and I wrote about themes of mental health. I wrote about anxiety. I wrote about codependency, because they're real themes that I was dealing with in my life and in my stepmom role. They were mirroring themes that I was processing in my own therapy journey. And it required a lot of self-awareness to dive deep. I was really touched by the responses that I would see from people saying, I've had these feelings, I've had these uncomfortable feelings, but I really wasn't sure what to name it or what was going on. So to see that reflected in someone else's writing was really powerful for some people. And I know that's how I came to it, by seeing it reflected in other people's writings. You've probably had this experience with listening to songs. I remember being in middle school and high school, and hearing some incredible singer-songwriters from female voices that just changed my life. the first CD I ever got was Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. God bless. I love that, like, my best friend, who's still my best friend now, her mom let her buy this CD for me with explicit just written all over it. Like, oh yeah, Bree, she can handle that. Well, thankfully I could. And it was incredible to me to hear a female voice so empowered sharing these themes. Could I relate to 90% of what she was singing about? I could not. I was like 13 years old. But to hear a woman use her voice in that way was so powerful. I love Mariah Carey and I love Whitney Houston. I love, first of all, their voices are amazing and the pop songs are beautiful. But I needed to hear something other than happily ever after. You know, I needed to hear a woman's voice represented in a different way. Then when I came to high school, middle school, still Gwen Stefani, and no doubt, not sure if she wrote those songs, but it was really still cool to hear that raw emotion through music. But yesterday I revisited an album that I was playing on repeat when I was in high school, and that is India Ari, Acoustic Soul. And I remember being 15 and standing in front of the mirror and listening to the song Video. And she just, if you don't know that song, please go listen to it. I think it's from like 2001. But if you do, then you probably know what I'm about to share. You know, I'm not the average girl from your video. My worth is not determined by the price of my clothes. And she just breaks it down by body image and wealth and all these constraints that we have in society that you as a young girl, young woman, learn this is meant to determine your value in society. And it's a myth, right? So these things that we take in through society, through pop culture, through the news, through the images we see in social media, these are the things that define you as a mother. And if you are not these things, that defines your worth in your family. It's a myth, right? It's not true. And there's not a lot of messages that we see that reflect that back to us. So I was thinking about this song and what it did for me as a teenager who was very awkward, really struggled with just acceptance in general, with friends, with trying to get your first boyfriend. What does that look like? What does it mean if I don't have one? How do I make my parents proud? All of these things that do not define you, right? How many times do I let those messages affect me as a stepmom? So we need more voices in music. This is your task today. Be this voice. If not for anyone else and it's just private, be that voice for yourself. I think there's a Alicia Keys song, Blended Family, and it's awesome and it's super validating and I love listening to it. But it wasn't on, the top 10. I didn't hear it everywhere. It wasn't being covered on The Voice. I'm not hearing that message a lot and I've really never heard another song like it. If you have another one, please do let me know. So there's a couple different ways to reflect how you feel into song. It can be journaling. It can be taking words that you've already just written in free form and journaling. It can be writing a poem and then maybe creating a melody around that poem. You don't have to write the music out. You don't have to know keys and tempo and all this music theory stuff. If you do, that's great. If you have a musician friend that you want to share this experience with, maybe you want to give them the lyrics, like Simon Garfunkel, McCartney and Lennon situation. You can share the wealth here. You can start really simply. And I'm going to share with you a really, really simple example of a piggyback song. So as a music therapist, we call these piggyback songs. We already know the melody. It's a familiar tune, but we've changed the words to it a little bit. So I'm sitting on a plane, which seems to be where I do my best thinking. I don't know why. And this song comes into my head for some reason. Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine. And it got me thinking, well, I wonder what this song with Stepchild of Mine would sound like. I don't know. I'm going to pull up my guitar chords here for a second so I can do this while not messing up. Beautiful. So here are some of my words to my new song, Stepchild of Mine. You got eyes rest you can probably guess. Oh, stepchild of mine. Oh, stepchild of mine. I've never sang that out loud. I've never shared it with anyone. The kids have no idea I wrote that. But it was one way for me to feel a part of it. That made me feel, that was my guitar, we're good. That made me feel validated, you know? So I look back at those lyrics sometimes and I think about that. The last time I really fully wrote a full song was probably about a year ago, when there were some really heavy things happening in the news. And some of them were some celebrity suicides, Kate Spade, Anthony Bourdain, and I couldn't shake it. I couldn't get this feeling out of me. I was working in a mental health community. I was working with violence survivors. We were starting to see an uptick in suicides and suicidal ideation. And so I put it to music. And I pulled out the themes from Kate Spade's work, polka dots, stripes, bright colors, and I just started to write about it. What's behind that? What are the colors we're not seeing? What did you need to show us those colors? And working through those feelings allowed me to go back to work with a different lens, and to have a little bit more empathy for the situation, I think. So a lot of times the information that we're taking in that is overwhelming us, making us feel anxious, making us feel like we don't know where to go, is exactly what needs to be expressed. It's exactly what needs to be put on paper, put into song. You can do art if music is not your thing. It can be a piggyback. You can use a prompt. I use I statements a lot, and I'll write out for one of my clients or for a student, I am blank. I worry about blank. I'm proud of blank. I'm sensitive to blank. I love blank. And I just write all these different prompts out on a paper, have them fill it out, and then have them look for patterns in it. Does any of this come together? Would one stand out to you that's your definitive I statement? I love really stands out to me. What I love, what's passionate about. I said, well, that's going to be your chorus. That's going to be that part of the song that repeats. And that when someone walks away humming your tune or listening to your piece, they know that was the message you wanted them to hear. What are the other statements that go around that? And start to pull from those prompts that you use. And by the end of it, you've got a song. If you've got a couple stanzas with 4 lines each, maybe it rhymes, maybe it doesn't. It's your song. You decide. That's great. And you can start to flesh it out from there. This does not have to be a moment where you arose from sleep and a beautiful sonnet was ready to go and you put it all on paper. It's a work in progress. Consider it like journaling. Consider it like poetry writing. At the end of the day, it's for you. It is not for anyone else. If you choose to share it with others, to give them a little insight into how you're feeling, or to give others the opportunity to connect with you, that's beautiful and that's wonderful. But you by no means have to do that. This is something special that is just for you. I would love to hear from you where this journey with music takes you. If it's just listening to music in a new way, sharing a song with your partner or your stepkids throughout the day because you were thinking of them, having a dance party in the kitchen, making a playlist, making a family playlist, writing a song. I want to hear how trying something new has changed the way your relationship with this role is in terms of music. Because I'm going to learn from you. That's what the Mindful Mentor is all about. That's my mission, mutual mentorship. So please follow up with me. That is mindfulbree.com is our website, Mindful Mentor Bree on Instagram. I would really, really love to hear how you continue to grow and flourish in this role and how music can be a beautiful part of that. Thank you so much for joining me today. I cannot wait to hear more from you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
VIP Stepmoms, that's you and me.